On day 2, as it dawns, we're heading into Europe. Across the Atlantic Ocean we've already flown, and across England into Amsterdam. As we head in, we see hundreds and hundreds of windmills for generating electricity. And everywhere we look, there's water, and areas for pumping water out. For 60% of Holland is below sea level. We finally arrive at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. After the plane has arrived at its area, we depart from the airplane and head through the airport to the train station. There we catch a train headed to Amsterdam. No, wait a minute, it's going the wrong direction. We had to get off and change trains. Going into town, you can start to see the canals and boats and houses. We finally arrive at the main train station downtown. After a short look around here to gain our bearings, we will leave this building and head to our hotel, walking and dragging the luggage. We'll be staying in the T Hotel, which is located directly on a canal. Here's our hotel. And up here on the second floor is our room. To get up to the second floor where our hotel is, we have to climb some very steep steps.
I'm coming. That's not fair.
We don't go back and forth to the room very much during the day. Few minutes in her room at the T Hotel after having walked up 2 flights of stairs. Were the stairs very big, Deborah?
Straight up.
Straight up?
2 flights of them.
Wow, like climbing a ladder?
Yeah.
And did you have a long walk here?
You know what?
What?
I'm going to lose some weight during these 3 weeks.
Sure, we're going to lose lots of weight because we're not going to be able to eat. You won't be able to afford to.
I won't be hungry.
Here's our room. And as you walk over here and look out the window, this is our view along the canal. Each morning we'll be eating at our hotel a breakfast before we head out. As we start looking around Amsterdam, we realize very quickly that this city is built for bicycles, with a road, 2 bicycle paths, and 2 small sidewalks on each side of every major road. In fact, there will be more bicycles than cars. At the main train station, there's a parking lot for bicycles, but none for cars. A garage for bicycles, and even that doesn't hold them all. Seems everywhere you look, there's bicycles. And they're the old bicycles, not 15 speeds or so. And you even have some SUVs with seats for the whole family. And maybe even a van on a bicycle. The cars are rather small because they're hard to park. Now look at the size of that one. Maybe that's what we need in America. And you can see the delivery vans are also quite small. And here you can see the problem with parking a large vehicle along the canals. There's no guardrail. Most of the transportation will be by trams. They're electric powered and cross the city in many different routes. We'll buy a pass that allow us to hop on and off the whole time we're there. There are also bus routes, and sometimes we'll have to use them when trams aren't going our direction. This is a city of canals. There are thousands of miles of canals, in fact. And they're some of the most beautiful part of the city. This is the Amstel River that flows through the city, where it gets its name from, Amsterdam, the dam on the Amstel. There's also commercial traffic and private boats on the canals. And some of the houses are located directly on the canals. You can step out your back door and go on a boat. And to prevent flooding in the city, at high water they close the floodgates so water can't go into the city canals. And wherever there's that much water, there's going to be boats. Thousands of them. On a nice day, people are out everywhere on their boats. And of course there are cruise boats that go around the city. We'll be on one of these, as we said, later in the day. And there's even a boat that takes in house cats that are strays. The Cat Hotel. And huge numbers of houseboats, all with electricity and running water. They're kept to a certain number, but all different kinds of designs. And then there are working boats too, the commercial boats. And wherever there's boats and water and cars, there's bridges. This is the most famous one. But there are many others of all different styles and types. The houses, as you look around, and buildings are decorated with all sorts of artwork and statues. And it used to be to identify a person's house, they had plaques out front. These have been collected in one place. And you can see here the different style gables. The rounded, the arched, and the flat. And you can see the beams for lifting things up into the buildings. They still have to have them today, for many of them have too narrow steps to lift things up. Let's take a look at some of the architecture in roads and streets. They have many open plazas for people to hang out at, shop at, eat at, such as this one at Rembrandt's plot. And as you drive up Dambrecht Street, you can see the stores and various other shopping areas they would have. See the bike path and the sidewalk along the road. And there's artwork everywhere to remind you this is Van Gogh territory, although this one's been modified with the potatoes eaters being the French fry eaters. This will be our first day in Amsterdam, and so we'll start looking around the city some since we have a lot of time. We'll leave our hotel and walk to Westerkerk. We'll then take a tram down to the dam square, where the dam used to be on the Amstel River. There we'll see the Palais or Palace, the new church, and the National Monument, before walking over to the old church. Then we will walk to Our Lady in the Attic, go to St. Nicholas Church, before we head off to the cruise. As you can see, the old church is in the middle of the red light district now, the red area on the map. And the cruise will be seeing the majority of the city cruising along the canals. So this first day we'll have covered almost the entire city. We'll conclude our day by going to the Puri Mas restaurant, an Indonesian restaurant, for a rice table. Now let's go have a look at some of the sites that we will be looking at this day in detail. First up for the day will be the Western Church, or Westerkerk. There's the source of his excitement. Somebody about to drop their purse into the canal. Then we'll travel to Dam Square. This is Dam Square. Where we'll see the Palais or Palace. The New Kirker, New Church. It'll be closed so we can't get in, but Deborah did some shopping around it. We'll go over and we'll see the National Monument. And then we'll head down Damrak Street to our next stop. We'll now be heading into the red light district. This district has many alternate lifestyles you'll find here. Our next stop will be Our Lord in the Attic. It's actually a 17th century canal house that's been restored, but once Amsterdam became basically Protestant, there were many Catholic churches hidden away, and in the attic of this house that looks so ordinary on the outside, in 5A, you'll find a fully functional Catholic church. We'll look at the house first, and then we'll look at the church. You can see here the small beds. They thought if you laid down totally, you would die, so they always slept sitting up. The house is very beautiful. But in the attic is the real secret and the real beauty, the Catholic church there. You can see from this how narrow many of the houses were there, as this is the entire width of the house. Our next stop is St. Nicholas Kirk. It's dedicated to the patron saint of Amsterdam, St. Nicholas, or as we would call him, Santa Claus. And there's a very beautiful church on the inside. Our last major event of the day before supper is to take a cruise on the Holland International boats. This will cover most of the canals and harbor of the city, and we'll be able to see Amsterdam the way it was intended to be seen, from the water, which is the way most people would have seen it when they first came. The North Sea Canal will be the fastest way to get to the North Sea. It's still about 20 miles away, even by the canal. You'll also notice that their barge traffic is basically self-powered. It's not a whole bunch of barges tied together with a towboat like we use on the Mississippi River. We'll be going under many bridges. After all, there are hundreds in the city, and we will be on the canals.
On the left-hand side, in front of the Shipping Museum, is the Amsterdam. It's a replica of a mid-18th century VOC ship of the same name that went down off the south coast of England on its maiden voyage. On the left-hand side belong to the City Hall. The round building of white marble next to it is the Music Theatre. It is the home of the Dutch Opera Company and the National Ballet. Waar we ons momenteel bevinden, werd gegraven ten...
There are so many bridges that looking down this canal, you can see 6 bridges in a row. That's the official residence of the mayor of Amsterdam. Huge homes for the time. The boats are so long that we're traveling in that sometimes it's very difficult for them to turn in the narrow canals, but they manage it pretty well.
At the moment, there are some 2,500 houseboats in Amsterdam. The city government will not allow this number to increase. Most boats have running water and electricity at their disposal. In the 1980s, the city began to convert the houseboats to gas, at least in as much as it was technically possible.
As mentioned earlier, the floodgates are used to close off the canals when the water rises in the harbor. Our last thing to do for the day is to eat at the Puri Mas Indonesian restaurant. There we'll have what they call a rice table. It's a whole bunch of small dishes of all different kinds of flavors from Indonesia over a bed of rice. Gives you an opportunity to sample many of the different foods.
Worse than England.
After we're through eating, we head back to the hotel where Deborah writes in her journal, and we head off to bed, even though it's still light outside.